Hey folks, I'm out walking here and something came into my mind, and I'm walking in the neighborhood. It's not the trail, but I put on a pound in the last couple of days. I've got to get it off. And anyway, I wanted to make a bit of a response to, I did this video for TikTok about right after the World Cup, Argentina-England game, about a little bit about football, but about also colonialism and so forth. And a young guy happened to mention, or one of the comments. It was a young guy, and he was pointing out that the working class allow it. If you don't speak up, you're partly responsible. You're responsible. You gotta say something and all this. And if he said something about you probably in relation to me benefited from colonialism. Well, if you live in the US or if you live in any of the Western colonial countries, you benefited from colonialism without a doubt. But there's a difference between the class that colonized and the fodder that were the working class that they used from many different nationalities. There were a lot of Irish in the British Army, colonial people, also Africans that they used, just like the Romans did, similar sort of thing. And so, as I say, the guy wasn't mean, but and I thought, well, look, as I said, I get as frustrated as well. I remember toward the end of my career, end of my work, I went retired. I was beginning to get a bit bitter towards some of my co-workers, because my union was a great union. It had been built by people in the 60s, Irish Americans, Portuguese, Italians, women, and for a blue-collar local, women have played an important role in my local, and gay women to boot. And two of them were two women presidents, one of them a lesbian. I mean, for a blue-collar local, not bad. And so it's a great union, and it should be defended and built upon. I don't see it, you see. And even when I was there, there was more of activity when myself, Roger, John Walsh, Cheryl, and a few others in the leadership, when I was on that executive board as well at that time, there was more. If you fight for workers, they'll come to a union meeting, but they gotta see there's some benefit from it, material benefit from it. It's like voting. And anyway, so I can understand the frustration. Yeah, they could act there, they should act. Yeah, why? I mean, I feel it. What on earth we should be in the streets with what's going on? And then the Iran thing, and then before it, Afghanistan, before it, Iraq, this Grenada, Cuba. They're starving Cubans to death, the US. It's the most powerful nation on earth ever has starved this little island. And what for? It's nothing to do with the fact that it was a one-party dictatorship or anything, or whether it's communist or whatever. Okay? Clearly, and if they're fascists, look at the Israeli regime, right? So, what is it? Cuba, this tiny little island under siege, had a life expectancy that was the same, maybe a little better than the US, and infant mortality that was far better. Now, if they cared about humanity, the people that run this country, and you knew that how did this little island with no money, and that we've crushed economically, how does it do that? Well, it does it, you see. It provides it as a state because the private sector don't govern in the same way. The private sector don't run rampant, okay? I'm not going to get into a form. I don't believe that's communism in Cuba, but I'm not going to get into that. The private sector didn't run rampant. The Cubans in South Florida and all that. This is the petty bourgeois and the bourgeois that ran the place when it was a playground for American millionaires and gangsters. That's who's in Florida. So they don't attack Florida because it shows that you can provide these things. If Cuba can do it, so could the US, and they don't want that. The market has to be seen as the provider of all things, and if it doesn't provide it for you, it's your fault. You have the individual rights, you work hard, it works. That's their game. So you've got that. And in terms of the organised labour, the bureaucracy, the pro-management pro-capitalist bureaucracy will stifle any movement from below that threatens its relationship with the capitalist class based on labour peace at our expense. They will crush that. You've got the state itself, the media, everything else, and also there are people that are doing okay. I mean, myself, I have to say that I've got a decent retirement. I'm not a rich man, but I got piss poor dental insurance. But I could just say, oh no, I'm not going to care about any of this. But I can't. And plus, I've seen change through collective action. At my local, when the two locals come together, as we've tried to get them to unite, and the leadership of the white collar union never wanted it and always blamed the membership for it, but it was quite clear they didn't want it because they might not be in the lead of a united local. There's a lot of opportunists in politics. But so in America, there's plus people are in debt. I mean, I talked to a woman of 50 the other day. She's a home help. Her husband's a home help. I mean, a 2-bedroom apartment in this town's probably a couple of grand, I think she's paying. You know, I mean, it's insane. And yet she provides a wonderful public service. So the childcare alone for workers, for those people that are a little better off, they've got to get the kid watched because they're better off because they're both out working. So there's massive pressure in here. And what that means, without, and in particular, without a leadership, the working class in organised or unorganised labour, without that leadership that has an understanding that you have to change society. The working class that produces the wealth has to control the wealth, has to control the means of producing it and everything else. And that does not mean, when you eliminate capitalism, that doesn't mean we don't have struggle and argue over where resources go. And I think I said this in a video the other day. We're not going to argue about whether you can have a roof over your head or me, or your kid gets fed on mine. We're not going to do that. Capitalist class like that keeps you divided. Anyway, that was that's just thinking about the response to the young man, is that because of that, it's very hard here, boy. And when it happens, there's going to be some crap hit the fan, folks. There's a lot of power, but the working class tends to unite in times of real crisis. It looks for class allies, and that it will be an uneven process, to use a bit of a cliche, moments of reaction and despair, but overall, in my view, of unity and struggle for a better world. That, to me, is guaranteed. The end result is not. Nothing is guaranteed in the end result. But anyway, climate change or the nuclear war could cut that short. Here goes, that's the end of my 4-minute edition for 8 minutes.